My Govan and Melonin, and well met indeed. I'm Arachir Galadirthan, head of the modding team behind Divide and Conquer, and welcome back to Divide and Conquer as I bring you the final developer diary before version 3, The Cold North, is released unto you all at an unspecified date. So, I appreciate much of this has now been seen in the Angmar campaign that I started, but for the sake of keeping everything in the developer diary separate to the campaigns, I'll go over everything. So, starting off, of course, are the faction icons created by Mats. You may have seen Mats if you're in the Discord, or he comments sometimes on YouTube. But in the Discord, he's been one of the highest ranking members for quite a long time now, and he's been in the Discord for a very long time. And so you may have bumped into him. But of course there are new icons, as you can see. And also we've, something that I really like, is we've changed the way that they highlight. So you may recall previously, if you hovered over them, they'd get a little light in the top right-hand corner. And then when you clicked them, it then did the kind of the heartbeat style highlighting feature. Whereas now it just highlights them in white when you're hovering over them, which I much prefer. You will also note, of course, they've been grouped dependent on their design rather than perhaps their allegiance. And that is because aesthetically it looks better. And if you are struggling to find a faction, if you just click on them, it will tell you said faction as you go through. Do note, of course, there is that little flash, which I think is to do with the high quality resolution of the map. The flash has only been a problem since the higher quality maps have been introduced. So we're willing to put up with that little brief flash that you get every fourth click in order to have the better maps. And also it still doesn't crash, so it's fine. But as you can see, as I say, they've been grouped. So there are 3 Wildmen nations, so they are 3 to the left of the centre. There are 3 dwarves, so they're 3 to the right of the centre. There are 4 Numenorian descendants, so they're on the far left. There are 4 Northmen, they are on the far right. And then the 3 eastern nations are in the middle, with Khand being perfectly in the centre, and I wanted those 3 in the centre because their design nicely pairs with the version 3 symbol. The evil nations are the 3 to the left and right on the top line, and then the elves are 2 on the left and 2 on the right. The other thing that's changed at the menu is these descriptions. So the little bit of lore Gunf has now gone first. So that's a direct excerpt from the books related to the faction. Then it tells you a bit about their starting location. The Gondor one needs a slash in front of the N. And then it tells you a bit about what you can do in the early game. Gives you a brief overview of their military power. And then special features will name any sort of scripts that faction may have, or any unique features that aren't script related but are just unique to that faction. So like fiefdom recruitment is of course unique to Gondor, or is a feature of Gondor, and Osgiliath and Tharbad are their rebuilding. They don't have any script, so of course there's nothing to say there. However, if we were to jump over to Khand, it would tell you you've got the blue wizards. It doesn't directly use the word scripts because we do try to walk the line between giving you information in a more immersive way and just outright telling you X, Y, Z. But we try to walk that line. Additionally, the rare units are not necessarily all of your AOR units. They are literally the ones that you wouldn't know you could train without possibly being told. So for Khand, for example, the Ushishia Storm Riders and Orokani Dwarves, you probably wouldn't know you get them even if you do make the Blue Wizard choice. It doesn't outright say... It does allude to them, of course, but it doesn't just say, this choice will give you this unit. So I thought it was a better place to write it here. Units that have a more unknown option, if we go to Dale, for example, many of you may be totally unaware that Minas Ithil Guardians are available to Dale. So those are the kind of units I wanted to put here. The Ithala Rangers don't have a hyphen. So many little text bugs. Also, if the nation has a navy, that's been written there as well. So those are the icons. Now we'll jump into what will unfortunately be a short video because little has changed as we now come down to the polishing of version 3. Alrighty, in keeping with our theme of safety, now in keeping with the theme of icons, I can also show you the diplomacy ones. Now I've already spoken about these, of course, again in the Angmar videos. Excuse me, sorry. In the previous iteration, you've seen them as they were little banners, but for whatever reason, having them designated in the file as a rectangle, but then actually having an aspect of them be invisible, not invisible, what's the word? I can't think of the word. Transparent. There being nothing there. It didn't like that, so they had to be a complete square, a square that actually had things in it. So they've been changed to be squares. And now you can see that you can click anywhere in the square and it will take you to those factions. You can jump around. Now, do note, as I've already mentioned, they have to be about 25 by 25 pixels. You can push them to about 30 by 30 tops, meaning that they are never going to be as detailed as the actual main icons, which have been considerably buffed in quality. And they are also never really going to display anything more than a little icon. So that is what Matt settled on. I agreed, the team agreed, and so we went for it. So they are a little lower in quality than what you'll get on the left-hand side, but that is purely because that's what we've got to work with. Do remember this game is now 14 years old, so you're not going to have Rome 2 graphics. But anyway, those are the icons. So the new things really that have been finishing Angmar off for version 3 are new campaign strategy models, and we will use the Shire as our little guinea pig. So a Angmar Town looks like this. Now do remember, or do note, as you'll see in a moment, they reflect the battle map completely. So that is very much what the battle map of the Angmar Town looks like. It is based on the Wildmen Town, except it has Angmar buildings and a darker theme. Jump it up to a town as we come over here. Oh, hang on, I can make this even better for you. There you are. Jump it up to a large town, and you'll note that it gets the much thicker, chunkier walls covering a much bigger section of the southern side, and you now get a sort of town hall building, which is not present in the town version. And then, in a nice twist that I really quite like, similarly sort of to the Northern Dunedain, when they then jump to a city, it then takes on a much more Northman theme. And so the city is based on the Northman town with Angmar buildings and Angmar colour scheme. So those are the three that you get. Do note, Angmar do not get large cities. City is the highest you'll ever go. They don't get large cities. But what they do get, if we jump down to my next test location, are strongholds. But this is not one of those. This is a castle. So there is no unique Angmar Motte Bailey because no one builds Motte Baileys. So there's no need to give them one because you'll never see it. But there is a castle. So this is the first upgrade you can get in the castle line. And as you can see, again, based on the Wildmen castle, darker wooden thick walls and again a keep structure in the center. Then building the highest tier of castle, which is the stronghold, which has been created completely uniquely from scratch by RK and then replicated by the elite dwarf in these CSMs. That is what the stronghold looks like. As again, you'll see the stronghold in a moment when I attack this, which is why I've chosen Gondor, because they have so many starting generals you can attack anyone you want. But that is what the Stronghold CSM looks like. So instantly recognizable when you're scanning over the map. You can easily see, oh, look, that's an Angmar castle, and oh, that's definitely an Angmar stronghold. And similarly with the towns. Now, the town and the large town do look obviously rather similar to the Wildmen on purpose. So you may have to think a little twice with those, but the city is unmistakable. And speaking of unmistakable CSMs, we also have Berzakul. As I said, in the Angmar episodes and campaign, this hadn't been created yet. And I won't port it over because I don't like adding things to an ongoing campaign. But for you all, when version 3 releases, this is what Berzakul will look like. The little lake was added by RK to facilitate adding Berzakul. And then the Elite Dwarf, again, based off of RK's battle map, has built this wonderful design. So Berzakul is totally unique. And it looks damned good, if you ask me. Some other tiny little minor changes, or the only other campaign minor change really, there's a few, but Lord Skuld, the Angmar faction heir, now has the Archer elite unit for Angmar as his bodyguard, the Dark Blades, rather than the Northguard, who are the armor-piercing, mace-wielding warriors. So he's now an Archer unit, rather than a anti-armor killer. Additionally, Goblin Town, whilst I probably won't show you it in this episode because it's only really had a layout change, but predominantly it remains very much the same as it was before. But Goblin Town has been massively improved and the AI now sallies out. Tested and approved. We know that it works. So again, RK bringing out the absolute stoppers. That didn't really make sense. RK on top form, creating Goblin Town. So now the battle map is a little easier to navigate. The enemy deals with it much better. And best of all, they actually sally out now. So they will attack you if you siege Goblin Town. This treatment has also been given to Caer Andros and Cirith Ungol. So Caer Andros, while they already sallied out, the AI now deals with pathfinding in Caer Andros a little bit better than it used to before. And similarly with Cirith Ungol, they now handle the pathfinding much better. And Arche fixed a bug where sometimes the AI doesn't attack you. So they do now. Another thing that you'll note, this is specifically to Gondor, is that in version 3 it was reported that because Durthang has moved and is now this province here, Dantalad, Mordor were doing a little bit worse than normal, and it was very easy when playing as Gondor to utterly annihilate them, and even the AI was wiping them out. So you might notice standing in the heart of Mordor are two large armies that Mordor will throw against you early doors if you play as Gondor. So it'll be trickier now as Gondor. It will be as though it is supposed to be, in that if you can just endure the first sort of onslaught of Mordor, those first armies they throw at you, then you have a chance to take the fight back to them. So they don't have as much training capacity as they once had, but they do start with large armies. So it's kind of like Sauron has built his army, he's throwing it at you. If you survive it, then you will then still have a little bit of an easier time than perhaps you did before. But that is it for the campaign map, and for the battle map, I am just going to show you the actual battle maps that we have here. And I'll take you through each one in turn. So we've got 5 in all to see, and we'll jump between them all now. In terms of the... And then we will then end with a little look at 2 units that have been added on the battle map, or 2 changes to the battle map. So we'll start here with the Breland town of Mitchell Delving and the Angmar Town. Okay, so here we are at the Angmar Town. So the first thing, again, just finishing off the icons, you'll also note that each one of these little icons, whilst they don't unfortunately match 100%, and it might annoy some people, they have at least been made circular to fit in the centre of those icons a little bit better. If you play as the Northmen, they'll fit 100%. If you play as the Evil Men, they'll also fit 100%. I believe the Middlemen, they'll fit 100%. But Gondor and the Orc nations and the Elves and Dwarves, I don't know. I think they are just out by like 1 or 2 pixels. But they've been made circular. But anyway, to the town itself then. So here we are in the Angmar Town. As I say, it is based on the Wildmen town, so it has the same sort of like mud walls with only a small palisade atop. And then the square is up on the hill next to this town centre-y looking building. There's the Breland at the moment defending it. And otherwise it is just the Wildmen town. But you do note that these gates on this side here, and if you come over to the other side, there's a gate there as well, meaning that it is a little bit easier to get to the town square than it used to be. I believe that gate might have been added as the new one, possibly. But anyway, one of those gates, or possibly both of those gates, may well be new. As I'm fairly certain I saw that on the changelog way back, but I could be wrong. But otherwise, it is just a Wildmen town with the Angmar stone hut at the top. But it does look very cool, if you ask me. And I think it's very, very nice. And it reflects the kind of the remnant nature of Angmar. So where the men of Rhuideau make up really the kind of bulk of your early tier forces, and it's not until a lot later on that the population of the Angmarim can take center stage, and then they take over, and the towns reflect that. So it has a more Wildmen hillman theme at the start, and then it gets bigger and better as you go on. So that is the town, and now we shall jump over to the large town. Welcome, as I say, to the large town. So again, following in the Wildmen theme, it gets much bigger walls. You can actually now put people atop, and it has a much easier to defend hilltop presence, for want of a better word. So you've got the 3 entry points down on the base of the little hill that the town is built atop, and then you have to climb up these steep slopes, and the square is in the centre. And again, from the previous version, having this sort of stone town hall, but this time with added blue flame, courtesy of Arche again, his wonderful masterstroke for this town, but also, of course, inspired by the Battlefamidler to Rise of the Witch King, who has given much inspiration and indeed just assets for these towns and whatnot. And of course the blue flame thing is very much something they have, but it looks damned cool atop there. So this is the large town. Again, it's a town you've seen before, but not with the Angmarim style, where it's kind of a mix of orcish tents and huts, and then Wildmen houses, and then finally with the Angmarim overlording over the rest with their stone town hall / temple-y looking building. But there we are. That is the large town. And you also get these cool little defensive lookout points here with this very cool looking dead tree. But I'm sure you could probably put catapults there and rain fiery, furious hell down on any who tried to come at the gates. One would hope anyway there might be an invisible building there, but I doubt it. But anyway, there we are. That is the large town. And now we move on to the slightly different one which is the city, of course, which is a tainted version of a Northman city. And finally, welcome to the city. This is, of course, the highest tier that Angmar can get, but it does give you nice large stone walls and a long old stint to the centre, where again you will find the large town hall building, which has again been expanded, this time with 2 nice wings. And it's got a little wall around it as well. But again, the blue flame prevails. And atop the hill up here lies the famed dead tree, giving an awesome little view out over the town itself. Or the city, rather, sorry. You'll also note in the background over there, there is a slightly larger fortification, giving it that sort of castle-y theme in the corner, which is very, very cool. A nice mix of town and castle with that there. All of the buildings, of course, been kind of darkified, because if video gaming and pop culture tells you anything, it is that evil people like the colour black. And so, of course, how do you know these people are evil? They paint everything in black. But there we are. There is the city. Otherwise, it is a Northman city, but there are a few added additions, like this mirror-like lake, which is reflecting the sky so much it looks kind of like a hole in the floor. But you will note the haze around the trees when I stop moving the camera. Also, of course, assets like the town hall, the flame above it, the orc tents behind it, the dead trees are all things added by RK. And, of course, the darkening of the buildings. But mostly it's just the lovely little mix and match between orcs and now Angmarim. So it reflects that the Angmarim really are now in power at this higher tier. The wild men have been moved into the towns, and but the orcs, refusing to live like decent things, still live in their crappy little tents. So given that a body alive and defending Angmar is better than a body dead outside the walls, they at least bring the orcs inside. So there we are, that is the city. And now we jump onto the 2 castles then, starting with the castle, and then of course the stronghold afterwards. I will show you it anyway because I've taken the time to load all of these family members in, but you will immediately learn that the castle is, of course, the same battle map as the large town. And I didn't really need to record this extra section, but I'd already recorded the large town bit, so I can't go back and add in some words saying, oh, it's the castle too. So here it is again, the large town / castle. And I'm so stupid because I did already know this. It's because I'm just blindly going through killing off our family tree by attacking all of these towns. But here it is, the castle and large town for the Angmarim. And now we jump onto the one that is completely new. RK has created from scratch himself. You will not have seen it anywhere else, for it is entirely a Divide and Conquer's own creation, and that is the Angmarim Stronghold. Welcome to Angmar's own stronghold, and here it is in all its absolute glory as we pass right through the wall, something I've just learned that you can do. And within it is just a large open space, so it's which is always the best way to have it for the AI. They hate complicated settlements. It's got another, again, mix of orcish tents and Angmarim town halls, the old town hall structure lining the deep slopes up to the central reservation, or the central circle, sorry, where you will, of course, find the actual town square. Outside of the large, actual stronghold-like structure. It mimics an awful lot the actual Khan Dum battle map from the Battle of Middle-earth, Rise of the Witch King. And I believe, in fact, this is the very castle from that map, which is very cool to see. But otherwise, it is just a semicircular defensive wall, with 3 gates, and so only 3 ways to assault the centre. But then, as you can see here again, actual walls line the hill, meaning you can put actual archers on them. They are not just there for design, they actually do something. And oh look, they're so confident of the army that I've brought that they're bearing down upon me. But here we are, the Angmarim Stronghold. Now, something that, as I say, I've just learned, the scroll lock button will lock out the UI for you and give you those black bars. And it will also mean that the camera does not automatically jump over things. Which it did before. See where it's jumping like that. And see, but when I scroll lock it, I can then no longer move the mouse. I can't zoom in or out. But anyway, there we are. That is Angmar's Stronghold. And that is all of Angmar's new towns for your pleasure and delight for version 3 whenever it releases. But now we will finish off by having a look at the 2 new additions, or the 2 kind of changes that the battle map gives us, and then that will be that. Finally then, welcome to the battle map for some minor changes to a couple of factions. And first and foremost, of course, are the retextured Imladris elites. So on the far left, Eldarinway Swordmen coming in to the Eldarinway Spearmen, and then Eldarinway Lancers before them, or after them, and then Eldarinway Archers to finish off. You will note they all now share the look of the Noldorin Guard, and the only way to get this design is to build Ostenethil, or not build Ostenethil, sorry, build the Gwaith I Myrdain, the guild in Ostenethil, and upgrade your elites there. You can also do it by capturing the Hall of Aule, which is the dwarves' highest blacksmith tier. That building also has the same. So if you happen to capture a dwarven town where they have their highest blacksmith, you'll also be able to get this look there as well. That's just an oversight from the game, really, but it is indeed a possibility. So it is purely aesthetic, and it will only affect the Eldarinway, and indeed only really in one place. Oh, if you also manage to get the highest tier of your guild, that will also upgrade the armor as well. I believe it's called the Noldorin Guard, or Noldorin Swordmasters Guild, or something like that. And then finally we have Sauron's new bodyguard and banner carriers. Now Sauron himself is not here because I foolishly didn't make one of the generals look like him, and of course in custom battles no generals are ever represented. So at the minute he's a small orc has taken his place. But rest assured that Sauron is a full head taller than everyone in his battalion. He is noticeably larger, so it does look alright. And this is his battalion. So they are mace-wielding, shield, wraith-like Númenóreans. So they are dark Númenóreans on their way to the Wraith world. Let's turn that up and then the game will stop jittering. And Sauron has been given his own unique banner, so you will be able to find him on the battle map much easier than the other rabble, because his banner is the only red one with a bright yellow eye in it. All of the rest of Mordor's forces have black or dark red banners with a red eye, I believe, on them. So there is Sauron's bodyguard. They have special unique crowns, and they have new shields, new maces. They are unbelievably powerful, and arguably the now hands-down best unit in the game. The only thing going against them is their relatively small number, but using Sauron as a flanking unit or standing back is what you'll almost certainly always be doing. But so there we are. So that is it. That is all we have for you, really. There's a lot of bug fixes and polishes throughout all of these developer diaries that I have omitted on purpose, because they'd just be me reading from a list, and that's not entertaining at all. Also, of course, El Monstero has done a sound overhaul for version 3. There's a lot more music now for each nation. There's different end turn jingles for each nation. There's new sound effects when armies clash. There's new sound effects when arrows fire, all those kinds of things. But of course, because I don't have any music on YouTube anyway, or I don't have music in the developer diaries other than just some Lord of the Rings stuff, none of it is, you've not heard any of it here, but it will be in your games when you install version 3. So that is very, very good. A lot of love has been paid to the Wild Men and the factions in the east, the Evil Men. So we have great thanks to El Monstero for that, and indeed many scripting fixes that he has also done for us. We are very, very grateful. But for now, that is all. So I do hope you're looking forward to version 3 even more. And until we speak again, dear friends, Navair Naden Pedimad Melonin, and farewell.